everyone, I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave.
And this week on Baking with Fox Hallow Kitchen, it's double the recipe, double the fun. Part 1, I'm going to show you how to make homemade bread bowls, and in part 2,
we're going to make delicious broccoli cheese soup to go in them.
It's going to be quick, easy, and so much fun. So join us today on Baking with Fox Hallow Kitchen. I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave.
And welcome to Baking with Fox Hallow Kitchen. This week, it's double the recipe, double the fun. With the cold weather approaching, we thought we'd do something a little different. Part 1, I'm going to show you how to make homemade bread bowls. They're quick, easy, and so good. And then in part 2?
Part 2, we're going to make a delicious broccoli cheese soup to go with them. It's going to be awesome.
So if you're ready,
then let's have some fun.
Okay, to make our bread for our bread bowls, we're going to start off making our yeast. We're going to go ahead and take 2 packets of fast-acting yeast. I'm going to see if I can actually get this in without making a mess on the table here. Got 1.
You want this in warm water?
Yes.
Huh?
I was getting to that, but thank you for the reminder. And 2. And then we're also going to add half a teaspoon of sugar into 3 cups of warm water, which Dave just mentioned about. And then we're just going to mix everything together here. Take a fork and just try and get everything dissolved the best you can. And we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. You should be able to tell whenever it's good to go because it's going to look real foamy. But yeah, as Dave said, you want your water to be probably about 110, 120 degrees. It may take some time, but you'll get there. Okay. Alright, now that our yeast has time to set up, let's go ahead and move to our next step. In our bowl of our stand mixer here, we're going to combine 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, our yeast mixture we just made up. Just see if I can do this without making a mess here, Dave.
Looks good.
Yeah, see what I'm saying about it being nice and frothy?
Yeah.
Frothy.
Frothy.
And then we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of flour at a time here, which we're going to do, what is it?
3.5 cups?
Yes.
Right to start?
Yes, it's early here this morning. My brain's not really working yet, so thank you for covering there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll just
dump it all in there.
go ahead and get the dough hook attachment set up.
Yeah.
Then we're just going to mix it and knead it here for about 5 minutes. Alright, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our flour mixture here. And like I said, you want to get it to the point where your dough is going to be pulling apart or pulling away from the sides of the bowl. It might take a little time, but you'll get there. On top of the 3.5 cups of flour that we've already added, you're going to add an additional cup of flour to the mixture here. So as I said, you're going to see the dough pull away from the sides of the bowl. It should be just a little sticky, but just take your time with it and you'll get there. So as this dough is mixing, I want to reiterate that you're going to have a total of about 7 to 9 cups of flour in your dough mixture here. So, yeah, just keep working on it and it'll get there eventually.
Okay.
And I think we are just about there. It's still just a little too sticky for my liking. So we'll add our, probably at least last cup of flour, I would think. And let's just keep on going. Okay, before our mixer gets away from us here, we're going to go ahead and get our dough back in our bowl here. And then we're going to knead it here for about 5 minutes. Okay, now that we've got our dough out of our bowl here, we're going to knead it here for about 5 minutes here on a lightly floured surface. Use as much flour to your own discretion, but once we get this kneaded here, we're going to put it in a oiled bowl and then cover it with a towel and let it rise for about half hour to 45 minutes or until it's about doubled in size.
Okay, great.
But yeah, this is actually a really, really nice dough here, guys. So can't wait for you guys to give it a whirl and see what you guys think.
Okay.
Alright, our dough has been sitting here about an hour, and you guys can see it has gotten pretty massive. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and cut this into about 6 to 8 pieces, and then we're going to roll each into a nice sized dough ball. Alright, let's go ahead and get our dough cut up here. Oh my, this is going to be real nice bowls here, I think. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, I think so.
Try and get these.
About 8 pieces.
Yeah.
You can get those apart.
Yeah, well, just try. What I found is actually dipping our pizza cutter in a little bit of flour helps it get a better cut, just in my opinion.
Okay.
And then we're just going to roll each of these into a dough ball, and then we're going to do an egg wash and then let them sit for a little bit. Okay. You gotta try and roll these into pretty nice little tight dough balls here. Try and pinch the inside here. Make sure we have no air bubbles, but I'm pretty sure we will. This is a real nice airy dough. Try and get rid of as many creases as we can here. What do you think, Dave?
I think these are smelling good. You can smell the yeast on them.
I was going to say, as much yeast as we put in this here today.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Okay, there's 2. There we go. Come to daddy here. One thing I've always learned with the pizza dough is trying to pinch the inside.
Okay.
That helps with getting rid of a lot of the air bubbles.
Yeah.
So. How do you think the dough balls are looking here, Dave?
Looking good. They're looking nice and smooth.
There we go. You may have to.
Now we'll get it.
recut some of the dough after slicing it, but otherwise I think you should be in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and roll these out, and then I'll show you what they look like whenever we're done.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so we got 6 dough balls going here. We're going to go ahead and take a serrated knife, and we're just going to cut a small little X on each one in here. How do you think that looks there, Dave?
Yeah, it looks good. It doesn't have to be big. It'll be bigger when it
expands out more.
Yeah.
Because what we're going to do, we're going to let these sit here for another half hour to 45 minutes, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then before that, we're going to put an egg white and a tablespoon of milk wash on top of each of these here.
Huh?
And then we're just going to cover them back up and let them rise up again.
Okay.
So with that being said, I've got my egg white milk. We're just going to whisk this together here quick with a fork.
Okay.
Think that looked pretty good there?
Yeah. Just going to whip it together a little bit.
Okay, and then we're just going to paint it on here.
Push it on the top. There you go.
Don't have to be exactly pretty on it, but...
No, it looks good.
Then we're going to let these sit here. What this dough kind of reminds me of, and I was telling you earlier, kind of reminds me of whenever we did the jalapeno bagels or the Asiago bagels.
Yeah.
That's actually what this dough really reminds me of. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and cover these back up and get them under some heat and let them rise up here for about another half hour to 45 minutes.
Okay. Okay, now that the house smells like fresh baked bread, yum, we're going to start on our soup. First I need a cup of chopped onion, so I'm going to start with an onion here. And I'm going to cut it in half, so I don't think I'll need more than half of this. We'll cut up the smaller half. That ought to be plenty of onions, and we're just going to put these in a bowl and set them aside for right now. The next thing I need is a cup of chopped celery, so I'm going to use my same cutting board here and get some celery trimmed off. And we just need a cup of this chopped pretty fine. So I'm going to chop it up here. That ought to do it. I think that's more than a cup. Next we're going to want some broccoli, of course, for our broccoli cheese soup. I'm just going to go with whatever I get out of these 3 stems here. You want about 4.5 cups, something like that. I'm just going to go with whatever I get here. And we're just going to chop them into florets. Get them off the stems there. that's going to do just fine. And we're going to move on. Next thing I need is a couple potatoes. I have some red potatoes I happen to have handy. I'm going to peel them first. Peeling potatoes is fun. It's going to take a little bit of time here. Okay, that looks good. Then what I'm going to do with my potatoes is I'm going to shred them like I'm making hash browns. Just going to shred them, just like that. Potatoes have a lot of starch in them. We also want all our vegetables to be small sizes for this, except the broccoli doesn't matter, you can make it bigger, but the potatoes and the onions and the carrots and so forth, we want to be small. Let me get this other potato here. Okay, and then we have our potatoes, and we're going to set that aside in a small bowl. Next thing I need is 3 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. We can't have broccoli cheese soup without cheese, so I'm going to make some medium cheddar here. Use my scraper again, and we're going to do about 3 cups worth of this. And just keep going. What we're doing is when we get this done, we're going to set it aside, let it get to room temperature. We don't need to refrigerate any of this stuff. It's going to go into the soup. First thing we're going to do is melt a tablespoon of butter in our skillet here on medium-high heat. To that we're going to add our cup of onions that we diced earlier. And we're just going to saute these onions until they're softened in the butter. Okay, that ought to do it. I'm going to set these aside and we're going to come back to them later. Take them off the heat. Okay, next in my stock pot here, I'm going to take 3 cups of chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth if you want. That would be more vegetarian for the dish, but we're just going to use chicken broth. To that I'm going to add my shredded potatoes that I did earlier. Shredded, or not shredded, but chopped celery that we made. And then a cup of shredded carrots. I got them pre-shredded from our local Mega Mart, so I cheated a little bit, but it's easier to get them pre-shredded. And then we're just going to bring this to a boil over medium-high heat. Once this is bubbling, we'll let it simmer for a few minutes until the vegetables are tender. Okay, now that our vegetables have had time to soften a bit, we're going to add in our broccoli and cook this for another 2 to 3 minutes with the broccoli in it. Okay, now that our broccoli has cooked about 2 to 3 minutes and it's nice and bright green, we're going to add in our sauteed onions to our mixture. Get them nice and worked in there. And then we're going to remove this from the heat. We don't want it to cook any more than this. We're just going to remove it from the heat at this point. Next thing I need to do is make a roux for our soup. I'm going to melt half a stick of butter, that's 4 tablespoons, in a medium saucepan over medium heat. As soon as my butter is melted, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of flour and whisk it together. I'm just going to cook this over the medium heat for about a minute. But we want to keep whisking it so we don't want it to brown. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to add 2 cups of half and half. and a cup and a half of milk. And we're going to continue cooking this over medium heat, whisking it together with the butter and flour until it is thickened and bubbly. Okay, now that this is bubbly and thickened up a little bit, I'm going to remove it from the heat and we're going to move up back to our other pot. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take our cream sauce, our roux that we just made, and we're going to stir it into our soup. Get that all in there. And we're going to cook this for another couple minutes. We're going to let it simmer, boil up and simmer again for another couple minutes over medium heat. Okay, so this has been bubbling for a couple minutes now. I got a nice thick creamy soup here. So I'm going to turn the heat off. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in our cheese that we shredded to our soup. Break up the clumps there. And we'll give it a nice stir here to get it all worked in. Get that cheese nice and melted. And then remove it from the heat completely, and we're done. We just want to serve it warm. Get that nice cheese going the whole way through there. Get nice and mixed in. And that's it, we're done.
Alright, now that Dave has the soup done, let's go ahead and make our bread bowl. Gonna go ahead and just take our trusted knife here. Dave is actually letting me play with the knives here for a change. Could just slice a little bit off the top here. Probably could have sharpened this a little bit, but then we're just gonna basically make ourselves a bowl here.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of almost like a jack-o'-lantern, I would almost say. Just kind of pick out the insides to the best of your ability and go from there. What do you think, Dave?
I think that looks good. Yeah, leave some around the edge and we're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be definitely yummy. The bread's still warm. As massive as these things were, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that looks
good.
Fairly good for our bread bowl.
Okay.
All right, let's get some soup in, and it's chow time.
And now for the best part, of course, the taste test. I got a little chunk of bread here. I'm going to dip it in my soup. Oh, that soup is so cheesy and the bread is nice and fresh. You're going to love it.
Wrapping up today, we want to thank you again for joining us. Encourage you to check out our friends and support channels listed in the description below. But before we go, always remember, it's good times and good food on Baking with Fox Hallow Kitchen. We'll see y'all soon. If you like this video or any of our other videos,
be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and stay tuned for future shows.